When the newest Modern Warfare was announced, I didn't really care. I didn't give it much thought, and that was until I saw the trailer. And I really didn't expect that trailer to grab my attention the way that it did. Call of Duty releases every year, and it's the same game. Yeah, there's some minor tweaks to the formula, but really, it's the same game, and it got stale for me. I've moved away from this arcadey twitch shooter, and over the years, I've gravitated towards more hardcore first-person shooter games like Escape from Tarkov, Squad, Rainbow Six Siege, and Insurgency. This is not to say that I don't enjoy the more arcadey shooters like Overwatch, and I really wouldn't consider Battlefield to be the most hardcore shooter by any means. And with that being said, I'm really enjoying my time with the Modern Warfare beta. In today's video, I will be discussing what I enjoy about the game in its current state, what needs to be adjusted for the final release, along with some things that I think would be nice to see when the game does release later this year in October. Kicking things off with the positives, starting with the art and the sound design. It's a very pretty looking game. Not the best looking game out there, however, they have made a big leap in terms of graphical fidelity compared to past COD titles. And this is in no small part thanks to the new engine that the game is running on. It's got a great blend of realistic looking graphics while maintaining some stylized elements, and they come together very nicely to create an overall beautiful game to look at. The visuals are complemented almost perfectly by the sound design, and I say almost because there's some things that really bother me about some of the sounds in this game, but we'll get into that in just a little bit. The weapons sound beefy, they just have weight to them. All weapons have an amazing sense of impact, they just feel lethal. For example, let's take a look at this clip from Weapons from Games. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description below, but just listen to the same guns from Modern Warfare 2 compared to how they sound in Modern Warfare. The snaps and the hisses of bullets whizzing by your head just sounds fantastic. The hit marker sound redesign is perfect. It kind of reminds me of just like bullets ripping through clothing, like layers of thick clothing. It's got a very nice deep thud to it. And this is all capped off by a very satisfying kill confirm sound. Now, the biggest thing with Call of Duty, obviously, is the gunplay. How do the guns feel? How does shooting feel in the game? And it feels great. This, by far, is the best feeling Call of Duty game we've gotten in years when it comes to gunplay. It no longer feels like it's a point-click-kill kind of cycle. I always felt like I was shooting laser guns with how accurate the weapons were in past Call of Duty titles. Now the guns have significantly more recoil, especially when you're laying down fire for prolonged periods of time. Recoil management is very important in this game. Now, when your mags are running empty, you obviously have to reload, and the reload animations look and they sound great. It's clear a lot of thought and detail went into making them feel like they have weight, and this includes some tactical reloads. For example, when you haven't emptied your magazine completely, when you go to reload, your character will bring his other magazine up to the gun, and in both hands he'll take out the used magazine and he'll put in the fresh mag, and then he'll store that for later use. It's little details like that in a first-person shooter game that really go a long way for me. And can we please just pause a moment to appreciate the MP5 slap?
Drop it.
Next is one of the things that I was most looking forward to trying out in the beta, and that is the gun bench. Now, this is a new addition to Call of Duty, and a very welcome one at that. This is where we get to customize our loadouts and our weapons, and it gives us a very nice representation of the changes that we're making to our weapons in real time. The system reminds me of those found within World War III and Escape from Tarkov. It may not be as deep as what we get in those games in terms of what we can do to the weapons, but it's certainly a welcome change to what we've had in past entries in the COD franchise. Of course, I can't neglect crossplay. Crossplay is something that, for the most part, worked very well. I didn't get to spend as much time as I wanted to playing with my friends online. However, I'm the only one out of my group that plays PC. All my other friends play on PlayStation 4. When we did get to play together, it worked almost perfectly. I didn't notice any distinct advantage that a PC player had over an Xbox player and over a PlayStation player. I'm not saying that there is no advantage. However, I wasn't seeing people get slammed just because they were playing on console or just because they were playing on PC. I feel that the lock-on in consoles has some advantage in certain situations, like dark corners where, people on PC, we have to manually aim, whereas the lock-on might help console players a little bit more in that regard. Just like we're able to aim and snap onto targets a lot quicker, or maybe spin around quicker to shoot somebody that's shooting us in the back if our sensitivity is high enough or if we can flick hard enough. Again, this is not something that I can prove. This is just from playing the game what I noticed. The issue that I did have with crossplay though is the communications didn't seem to be working quite right. Every time we would get into a game, my microphone would cut out and I wouldn't be able to speak to my friends in our party and they wouldn't be able to speak to me, but it showed that our mics were working. It was very odd. Those are things that really jumped out to me as overwhelmingly positive in this game. So now we're going to talk about some things I think need some adjusting. I know I put sound design in the things that I like section, but I did put a qualifier in there, and that's what we're going to be discussing now. When it comes to ambient sounds, directional sounds, and other in-game notifications, Call of Duty just feels cluttered. Call of Duty is a game of spectacle, crazy kill streaks, bombastic action, and I think for the most part the sound design complements that. However, sometimes I do feel like it's a bit of a hindrance when you're trying to use sound to your advantage. Footsteps and directional sound in this game, to put it bluntly, they suck. It's not great. I'm using Sennheiser Game 1s with a Mayflower DAC amp, so my audio equipment is not the issue. It's just very difficult to try to pin down where footsteps are coming from because there's just so much going on in the soundscape. On top of this, it's hard to tell the difference between friendly steps and enemy steps. So you're constantly hearing boots stomping around thinking that someone is coming from behind you when it's really just a friendly. So you take your eyes off of where the enemies could also be coming from and you get shot. You just turn around and check an enemy. This could just be because I suck at the game, that's very possible, but it is something that was consistently happening to me. I felt like I was on drugs, I was just paranoid, I was just like, oh shit, what is that? Then we have ambient sounds from the maps, and there's a lot to talk about with the maps, and some people in the COD community think the maps are too busy in terms of visual design, and there are too many angles to keep track of. Personally, coming from a Battlefield and Squad kind of mentality, this is something that I like, and it's something that I would like to see more of. I'm very glad that they've gotten away from the very stale and boring, predictable 3-lane map design. However, doors slamming all the time, floors creaking, pipes bursting, all of these sounds going on, and they're so loud. This is not to say that I want them removed, but maybe having the volume on them decreased a little bit because it makes it even more difficult to hear footsteps and other indications that enemies are in your area and they're coming your way. The most intrusive thing, however, is when ranking up. God, it's deafeningly loud. The music kicks in and this big flash comes on the screen of your rank, and it's just very distracting, especially when it happens to you in a firefight. This is not something that's new or specific to this game. It's always been a problem I've had with Call of Duty. It is like an experience when you rank up, like it feels good, like the guitar riff's really cool, and it looks exciting, it does. But I prefer that taking a backseat to the gameplay versus the spectacle, which again, I know that is what Call of Duty is about. It is just a preference for me. There are some issues with the weapon and gadget balancing as well. Like at the moment in the beta, shotguns are completely broken. I'm not 100% sure if it's a netcode issue or if shotguns are just underpowered, but they don't feel like they should. It might be a design choice, but shotguns just feel weak. You have to aim down sights, like hip firing is completely useless. This might be done to cut down on shotgun spam, however, I still feel like for the kind of weapon a shotgun is, it should be devastating at close ranges. Claymores. God damn it. Claymores.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
They're way too strong at the moment. The red laser lines on the ground, very hard to see. The trigger to explosion time is far too fast. There is zero chance of reacting to them, and it seems like there's only two viable options. One, take every corner slow, like fucking crawl. Or run the perk that decreases damage taken from explosives. Ground War is going to get its own video. I'm not a huge fan of that game mode. I think it has some serious potential. However, as it stands right now, it's just a clusterfuck. It's not enjoyable to me. It's not my game mode. Maybe it's the map or the player count. But anyway, like I said, that's going to get its own video. Time to kill is something I'm very torn on. I know this is a fast-paced shooter that's meant to be hectic. However, I feel that the time to kill is too fast and it doesn't allow for return fire. I just feel that this lowers the skill ceiling and it devolves gunfights into who sees who first. Very rarely do I feel like I get outshot. Normally I feel like I run into someone's line of sight and I get mowed down before I can return fire. This may not be as big of a deal to me if the spawning system allowed me to get back into the action instantly. However, as it stands right now, we have to sit through this Battlefield-esque overview of the map and it sweeps to the ground, and it's something that Battlefield does a lot better than Call of Duty does, and this is not to say that they can't improve it, but I feel like in this kind of game, getting back into the action immediately is very important, as it's a very quick game. You know, you die, you respawn, you die, you respawn. That's what this game is, so let us get back into the action quicker. I do see how the overview of the map would be helpful in a game mode like Ground War, but not for the normal 6v6 or 12v12 game modes like, you know, Team Deathmatch and Domination and Headquarters. I just don't think that it fits in very well with that. Lastly, just two things that I'd like to see in the final game. One of them's cosmetic and the other one's kind of a quality of life thing, but let's start with the cosmetic thing. You're allowed to choose from different operators, you know, some operators being on the hero faction and then other operators being on the villain faction. And you get to select which one you want to be displayed, so when you select your favorite, they'll show up on the lobby screen holding your preferred weapon loadout. I think it would be cool if we could assign different operators to each class. Like, for example, my sniper class. I'd like to have Kruger as the operator for that class because he's got, like, it's not a ghillie suit, but I mean, he's got this netting over his head, and it just looks kind of cool, like for a sniper class, I think. I'd like to have him be my sniper operator, and then I would like to have somebody like D-Day as my assault or my shotgun class. Again, this is very cosmetic, but I think that this would really add on to the already vast amount of customizations that we can already do. And now, a little quality of life improvement that I would like to see is when selecting an optic for a weapon, give us the ability to preview what the reticle is going to look like. I think that'll help players that are unfamiliar with the optics. And then we might actually get this if they start allowing us to change the reticles in the optics themselves. I'm not sure if they would implement something like that, but we've seen it in past Call of Duty, so I kind of hope that they do. When it's all said and done, I'm having a lot of fun with the beta. It's a fun game. It's got a very addictive gameplay loop. I don't see it taking place as my primary shooter, as it's still not my favorite style of first-person shooter game. However, for what it is, it's really fun. You know, you hop in with some friends and just kill some time. It's a fun game. I'm still going to do videos about the game before release, covering ground wars and weighing in on the debate of skill-based matchmaking, because I find it to be a very interesting topic. Not only that, but I am worried. I'm not worried. It's certain that Activision's gonna pull some fuckery with loot boxes in this game, and I am for sure going to be keeping an eye out for that, and I will be covering that because I'm afraid it's gonna ruin this game. That about does it for my thoughts on the beta, the first Call of Duty game I've cared about at all in years, and it caught my attention. I'm looking forward to seeing more from the game, including the single player before release. Please let me know your thoughts on the game and the beta in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.